Okay, I'll call to order this meeting of the Energy, Utilities, and Technology Committee. I'm going to start off by asking members to introduce themselves, and then I will introduce myself. And I'll start over here on my distant right with Representative Webb.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kilton Webb, representing House District 98 out of Durham, sitting all by myself.
Good afternoon. My name is Melanie Sachs. I'm proud to be House Chair of UUT and represent the wonderful community of Freeport in the main house.
I am Chris Kessler, representing part of South Portland and a smidgen of Cape Elizabeth.
Good afternoon. I'm Steve Foster, representing District 32, the towns of Dexter, Garland, Charleston, Stetson, Exeter, and a part of Bradford.
Good afternoon, Representative Valley Geiger. I represent the city of Rockland, most of Owl's Head, and the islands of North Haven, Cree Haven, the Muscle Ridge, and Matinicus.
Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Runte, and I represent parts of the towns of Wells and York, as well as the town of Ogunquit.
And I am State Senator Mark Lawrence, representing Southern York County, which is the towns of South Berwick, Elliott, Kittery, York, and Ogunquit. Together, some of the towns that Representative Runte mentioned, and he doesn't mention that he also represents Boone Island of legendary Kenneth Roberts fame. You don't?
No, that's Holly Sargent's territory.
Oh, boy.
I have no islands.
Well, just remember, no man is an island, so.
Are you
Okay,
sure?
so we're gonna go through some confirmation hearings today for the committee's benefit. We did these yesterday. And I sped the script up towards the end, so I'll do that again. I'm gonna go through it once on the first nominee and then kind of shorten it. But if you have any questions about the process or anything like that, just let me know. And I believe these are all in order, Lynn, that we're gonna do them. Okay. So this is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Kenneth Colburn of Bar Harbor for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board. Under the law and the joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by a majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs, Representative Sachs and I will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. The committee will hear testimony from and have an opportunity to question the governor or her representative, the nominee, and any other persons present who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Persons testifying at the public hearing today are advised that the hearing is live streamed to our broad international audience and may be seen and heard by persons watching online, and that a recording of the meeting will be archived. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend the confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes co-chair Representative Sachs for the purposes of making such a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology recommend confirmation of Mr. Kenneth Colburn of Bar Harbor for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board.
And for the people present in the audience, there is a copy of the statutory requirements for this position at the rostrum. I'll now recognize the representative of the governor for purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you and good afternoon, Senator Lawrence, Representative Sachs, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology. My name is Joe Bushy, and I'm the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Mills. I regret to inform you there's no commissioner here for you today. You got the big guns yesterday. I'm here on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination of Kenneth A. Colburn of Bar Harbor as a member of the Efficiency Maine Trust. In my testimony, which is being passed out right now, I've got a giant description of what the Efficiency Maine Trust is. I'm not going to read that to you unless you really want me to. But I'll let you know that it's a quasi-state agency governed by a board of trustees with oversight from the Public Utilities Committee. And the board must adequately represent the interests of all energy consumers. Kenneth Colburn of Bar Harbor holds a bachelor's degree in mathematics from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and received 2 master's degrees in education and business administration from the University of New Hampshire. Mr. Colburn has well over 30 years of experience as an energy and environmental professional. Since 2005, he has been the principal and owner of an energy consulting firm, Symbiotic Strategies, LLC, where he advises clients on climate change, power sector transformation, electrification, regulation, and public policy. Since his initial appointment, he has brought a breadth of experience to Efficiency Maine Trust Board. On behalf of the governor, I urge you to support his nomination for reappointment. If you have any questions, I'm happy to attempt to answer them.
Are there any questions from the committee for Mr. Bushy? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
The chair now recognizes Mr. Kenneth Bushy for the Kenneth Colburn. You don't want to be appointed?
No, I do not.
Okay. I was going to kind of merge you two together and you could tag team it. Mr. Kenneth Colburn for the purpose of making a statement concerning his nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair as well. I'm so delighted to be here and especially to see as a renomination so many familiar faces. So thank you not only Chair Lawrence and Sachs, but also members of the committee for your consideration and your service. My career hasn't changed much since you last saw me. So I don't want to take the time necessarily to read the whole material that I provided you with. But I know you want to know if I can speak in complete sentences. So let me proceed a little bit. Before I'm largely retired now, but as Joe said, I spent 30 years as an energy and environmental policy professional. Most of that work was advising regulators, advocates, and policymakers across the country, and a stint as serving as a regulator myself. Since then, I've also been privileged to serve 2 terms on the Efficiency Maine Trust Board and also serve on the Maine Climate Council as well, on the, not surprisingly, the Energy Working Group. As my resume shows, energy efficiency and beneficial electrification and the power sector transformation that's underway in general have been key areas of my work. They also are, sort of the bullseye of where Efficiency Maine Trust operates as well. So making for a good nexus of my interests and I hope a service to Efficiency Maine Trust. These are also essential topics for energy affordability in Maine and cost effectively addressing climate issues and keeping more of our energy dollars here at home in Maine. These challenges are coming, of course, in massive technological transformation of the sector, just as we've seen with telephony in our iPhones and computing from data processing departments to laptops. Energy is next on that list. So those changes are pretty profound. In the last century, we adjusted, managed the grid by adjusting the power plants, the knob on the power plants. The next century, we'll be doing that by managing demand, because you can't manage the cheapest sources of energy anymore. They're solar and wind. When storage gets affordable, it'll be a subject of managing demand. So the more effectively we electrify and manage our demand, the more cost effectively we will also serve the energy needs of Maine citizens. Maine's policymakers were wise when they set up Efficiency Maine Trust. They didn't hand it to utilities to do efficiency. And as a result, Efficiency Maine Trust has become a national leader. I understand in conversation with Michael Stoddard this morning that at least one state is considering copying the legislation and instituting a similar organization as Maine has. So kudos to you all for doing that in service of our energy and affordability goals. I think I can just end there and open up to any questions that you may have that I might be able to answer.
Are there questions from the committee? Senator Harrington, and then Representative Runte, and then Representative Geiger.
Can you just expound on the managing demand and what you think that means?
Yes. The example of storage, battery storage primarily, but EVs have substantial batteries as well, so they shouldn't be overlooked. When those are charged, of course, the batteries taking power from the grid to charge it up, and they can be used if they're enabled to do so by the owner and by the utility to help balance the grid when times of peak power. So that's a ready and available way to manage demand and help reduce the costs that peak power imposes on us and our ratepayers. Efficiency Maine has started a program on large batteries, and they're rapidly moving now into small batteries at the residential scale. So that will be a long step toward managing demand. EVs will fit into that when they get to a substantial portion of our automotive fleet. And then the final bit of that, Senator, is the rest of the collection of demand. It could include lighting, but more likely it will include heating. So water heater is a good example because it's sort of like the battery in the basement. You can pre-charge it well ahead of time and then use it when needed. To some degree, space heating is similar, but it's a little harder. So all of this has to be carefully enabled so the grid can take advantage of it, and carefully studied and implemented, which is where Efficiency Maine comes in.
Representative Runte, and then Representative Geiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is sort of a follow-up on that question. I mean, demand response is a major piece on how we deal with what the grid looks like going forward. It has an influence on how much supply is necessary. It has an influence on how much infrastructure should be built or should not be built to support whatever the ultimate demand might be. It's a piece of non-wires alternatives. It should be an integral part of integrated grid planning as one of the parameters that get balanced.
Very much so.
What I'm wondering about, though, is, you know, in other jurisdictions, particularly vertically integrated utility circumstances, there's a utility there that is, in fact, managing demand. And if they have the right technology and communications network, they can really fine tune what that demand is on a day-to-day basis. And I think we've talked about this in the Climate Council. You know, in Maine, we have Efficiency Maine, which is a collection of pilots and programs that look at various things that do demand response. But what's the right approach, do you think, in terms of where the state perhaps, or some entity perhaps, takes that comprehensive overall view and actually is involved in and is the control organization that says, okay, well, we're looking at CMP or Versant, and who should be doing the active management of all of that as we go forward?
That's a wonderful and still open question, Representative Runte. I think that our utilities are well positioned to do that because the sources of power the actual supply of power has been increasingly distributed, just as has computing with laptops and phones with iPhones, mobile phones. I still, though, managing the grid and balancing the grid, making sure that the power in is the power out at any given moment, is still up in the air about who actually is doing that. Even now, we have a lot of that being done by ISO New England, far from us and with very little attention to our wallets. But at a distribution level, it's our utilities. Since the PUC also purchases power for Maine, they also don't have that responsibility. So they're pretty well positioned as distribution utilities to manage the grid. Where they have not done so yet is the behind the meter side. That's also where Efficiency Maine primarily lives. So whether it's control or whether it's just opportunity, I separate the two because control means the utility would control your battery or your EV. No, you can give them control subject to being able to override it if you have a dentist appointment or whatever. But that central operation should probably be done through what I like to call a distribution services operator. We have regional transmission operators now. That's what ISO New England is. Well, let's take that same concept, which is born of reducing costs, down to the distribution level. Now, what are all the things that that organization can do at the demand side so that we don't have to have more power and buy more power? Okay, once we've done all those, then we have to buy power to supply the rest of the grid and the rest of our ratepayers' needs. So I would like to see it done along those lines. That still suggests there's a substantial amount of planning that should still be done and a lot of stakeholder work, because there's, God knows there's a lot of stakeholders around electricity on the way to getting to that point. Representative, there's one other thing I would add. You used the term demand response. I prefer the term demand management because response suggests there's a need, like a peak, and we should respond to it. We absolutely should. But that's just a couple hours a day. We can be using those batteries and those EVs all day long, not just the evening peak, which is the high one, but the breakfast peak when people get up, take showers, the hot water heaters go off and the microwaves and so forth. And during the mid part of the day, we can be charging batteries. That's part of management too. It's not just managing how much demand is used at a time. It's where renewables can be stored to be used and reduce that peak. So I like to think of it as demand management, not just response to a one need of the day. Thank you.
Representative Geiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Colburn, for serving. We're lucky to have somebody with your background
Thank
who
you.
is willing to serve again. First, I just want to say I found your CV very interesting. And it's not often you see somebody say, you know, I finished my degree at MIT in 3 years. Just want you to know that. And that I also want you to know that I am an Myers-Briggs type INTJ, which I love seeing that. I'm an INFP, so we're quite different. My question for you, though, is as you know, Efficiency Maine has vastly succeeded its initial goals with heat pumps. Could you expand a little bit? And I suspect I know the answer is going to be battery storage, but what do you see as the next big opportunity for Efficiency Maine to start to make a difference in terms of electrification and bringing costs down?
It's a wonderful question, Representative Geiger. And yes, you're quite right that the next major technology that's on the cost curve that phones have been, that laptops have been, that solar's been, that wind's been on, is dramatic reductions over periods as short as 5 years or a decade. I have solar panels on my roof that are now obsolete. If you installed panels today, you would be doing double the output compared to my panels. And the next major technology is storage. It's on that curve to come down in price performance. And I think Efficiency Maine is hopping aboard that as a policy matter. Okay, storage the answer, but how do we implement it? How do we get it? How do we get it, make it accessible? Efficiency Maine, to its great credit, I think, has focused a lot of effort on lower and middle income, ratepayers over the last couple of years. They're the folks that need the most help. And so they've been perhaps disproportionately served and properly so. But that penetration will benefit everybody. And one of the amazing things of the grid that most people don't understand or forget is that it is very price sensitive. We could look on the phone and see what the price is right now. And if we head into, at this hour, the evening peak, it could easily double. It might be, say, $30 an hour, 3 cents a kilowatt hour. It might be $50 or $60 by the evening. If there's anything we can do to reduce our load, then we save money for everybody. So efficiency does that. Renewables being stored does that. We have a lot of opportunity to manage the grid. So to not ramble on and try to answer your question shortly, storage is the next big technology. How these pieces all fit together and get to be managed in line with Representative Runte's question is the other big piece that I think Efficiency Maine can make a major contribution.
Thank you so much.
Other questions, Representative Foster?
Thank you, Mr. Colburn, for being here. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your answer to a couple of questions, but more specifically, Senator Harrington's, you triggered a question I've had for the Director Stoddard, that this late hour in my day, I probably won't get a chance to ask before we adjourn this session. So I'm going to ask you, and this may or may not get to the board level. I would think it would. We had a kind of a high profile project that we approved. Efficiency Maine Trust was going to take care of it. I haven't heard a result on that. And that was along the lines of EV storage and possibly grid generation, if you will, so we had a bill passed. I think it was the 31st for a district in southern Maine for school bus storage. And I'm just wondering, I don't think I ever heard a feedback on how that whole project went. That was going to be set up to do exactly what you're referring to on a smaller scale with EV batteries in someone's garage. So I didn't know if that got to the board level. I would hope it did, but not sure.
Well, thank you, Representative Foster. Typically, things like that do come to the board, if not in their early experimental implementation stage, then certainly how they're coming. That initial reporting typically does come to the board. I know that we have discussed school bus projects in the past, and there have been some wrinkles with that, not only here in Maine in implementation, but in the school bus industry. There's been a lot of hiccups as well. So I don't know where the project stands or what the pilot showed at this point. I think there's been a lot of success, but not overwhelming success in implementing school bus access to the grid or grid's access to school bus storage. It's a lovely opportunity because school buses are used, in the morning, then they can sit there and either be charged by the sun or used for the remaining amount by the grid, as long as there's enough, of course, or they're recharged in time for the afternoon pickup of kids. I'm safe in saying I can guarantee, as a result of your question to this member and perhaps others who remember better than I, will be raised at the board and reported back to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And maybe if Mr. Stoddard's fast enough, he can catch me on my way out the door.
Here. He's pretty quick.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that, Representative Foster. I believe there was wrinkles in the proposal. It did not go forward. If I remember right, it was the Wells Gunkwit School District. But I'm going to suggest, rather than interrupting this hearing, that you just talk with Representative Runte and Mr. Stoddard in an outside conversation.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Anyone who has a written statement but who does not wish to speak should have submitted the statement with the committee clerk prior to today's hearing. All such statements shall contain the name and residence of the person who prepared the statement. A copy of each written statement presented to the committee at this time will be made available to the nominee prior to the committee's vote, and the nominee will have an opportunity to respond to the comment. Those who wish to speak should observe the following. Please sign in on the testimony sign-in sheet that is over there on the windowsill. Please speak from the rostrum and state your name and place of residence prior to presenting your testimony. Persons participating electronically will be called upon by the chairs, at which time they will be promoted to a panelist status and in Zoom and can be seen and heard. Only comments concerning the suitability of this particular nominee for this particular position will be considered in order. All other comments will be considered out of order. Please remain at the podium after you complete your statement so that members of the committee may have an opportunity to ask questions. First, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this nomination? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this nomination in the audience? Is there anyone who wishes to speak neither for nor against this nomination in the audience? So do we have, Lynn, either Rebecca Schultz or Richard Burbank on Zoom? Okay, why don't you send him over and we'll have him testify in favor. Great. So, Mr. Burbank, I think you probably heard what I said. If you could just give us your name, where you live, and you can go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you so much, Senator Lawrence. This is my first time doing it remotely, so I could use guidance if I run astray. Good afternoon, Senator Lawrence, Representative Sachs, and members of the committee. My name is Richard Burbank. I am the president of Evergreen Home Performance. I live in Falmouth, Maine. And our company has locations in Rockland and Portland, and we serve homeowners throughout Maine. We're a leading vendor with Efficiency Maine Trust in the Home Energy Savings Program. We deliver insulation and weatherization services and help homeowners access the Efficiency Maine rebates. I'm here in support of renomination for Ken Coburn, and I've attended a lot of meetings in the last few years, and I've observed Ken. He really stands out in his thoughtful questions and being up on all the issues. I think he reads all the reports. He asks good questions. He listens carefully, and I've witnessed him move discussions forward in the board. So I'm here to speak in favor of him and also to share appreciation for all board members. And I could use guidance on whether I kind of sign up to speak on all the renominations and the potential nominee. But in general, I'm here to answer any questions since I've attended a lot of the meetings, but I urge you to support Ken's renomination and the others that are for consideration today.
Thank you. Are there questions from the committee? So given the fact that you said and the others, I'm not going to make you hang around and come back. We'll just take your testimony as supporting Mr. Colburn and all the nominees that we're hearing today. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And just from additional details, I have also witnessed Chris Rauscher, Glenn Poole, Joan Welsh, and Mark Isaacson very productively serve our state in their role in the Efficiency Maine Board Trust, or the Trust Board. And I've known Pat Stanton for a number of years, and I only discovered today that she was nominated, and I'm delighted, and I think she'll serve very well.
Good. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burbank.
Thank you.
That the only person we have online? Okay. All public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. We'll review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee. We will vote on the nomination and thereafter notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA, Section 157 and the joint rules. And that vote will be taken under statute within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. The hearing on the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology for Mr. Kenneth Colburn of Bar Harbor for reappointment of the Efficiency Maine Trust is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committee members who are present agree. At this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member present objects to proceeding to take the vote immediately. Any objection? There is no objection, so the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology recommend to the Senate of the 132nd Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Kenneth Colburn of Bar Harbor for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 151, and with the joint rules of the 132nd Maine Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. A vote of yes will be in favor of recommending confirmation. A vote of no will be against the motion to recommend confirmation. Is the committee ready for the question? The clerk will call the roll.
Beginning with Representative Runte.
Yes.
Representative Runte votes yes. Representative McIntyre is absent. Representative Geiger.
Yes.
Representative Geiger votes yes. Representative Foster.
Yes.
Representative Foster votes yes. Representative Kessler.
Yes.
Representative Kessler votes yes. Representative Sachs. Representative Sachs votes yes. Senator Lawrence.
Yes.
Senator Lawrence votes yes. Senator Grohaski.
Yes.
Senator Grohaski votes yes. Senator Harrington.
Yes.
Senator Harrington votes yes. Representative Warren is absent. Representative Paul.
No.
Representative Paul votes no. Representative Webb.
Yes.
Representative Webb votes yes. Representative Wadsworth is also absent. So 9 in favor, 4 absent.
9 members.
I'm sorry, 1 nay and 3 absent.
9 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 1 member in the negative. It's the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology that the nomination of Mr. Kenneth Colburn of Bar Harbor for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Board of Maine Trust Board be confirmed. Congratulations. Okay, we'll now go on to our second nomination. Okay, this is the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology, and we're having a public hearing for the purposes of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Glenn Poole of Monson for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Representative Sachs for the purposes of making such a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology recommend confirmation of Mr. Glenn Poole of Monson for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board.
The chair now recognizes Mr. Joe Colburn, Mr. Joseph Bushy, for the purposes of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you once again, Senator Lawrence, Representative Sachs, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology. My name is Joe Bushy, and I'm the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Mills. You'll notice I made a typo in the testimony you're getting right now that Mr. Poole does in fact live in Monson. Glenn Poole of Monson possesses extensive experience in the energy sector. He's now retired and served as the corporate energy manager at Verso Corporation, where he worked through multiple ownership conversions for over 40 years. He also served in various roles as a member of the Industrial Energy Consumer Group since its inception in 1985, including serving as president. Since his retirement, he continues to be an energy consultant, appearing regularly in front of the New England Power Pool regarding market rules related to capacity, energy, and demand response. In addition to his current service on the board, he has also served on the Efficiency Maine Trust from 2009 to 2013. Mr. Poole's extensive knowledge of Efficiency Maine Trust and his overall energy expertise have made him a valuable member of the Efficiency Maine Trust Board of Trustees. On behalf of Governor Mills, I urge you to support his nomination for reappointment. If you have any questions, again, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Are there any questions from the committee for Mr. Bushy? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The chair will now ask, we'll go to the portion where we have people testifying either for, I'm sorry. The chair will recognize, I was going to skip over that entirely. The chair will now recognize Mr. Glenn Poole for the purposes of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Good afternoon, Senator Lawrence, Representative Sachs, and members of the UT committee. Everything he said is true, so that's good. I am very proud to be from Monson and living back there now. I graduated from Monson Academy and went on to University of Maine, where I graduated with high honors in electrical engineering. I worked at the Portsmouth Navy Yard. I worked at Bangor Hydro. And then I started work at the Bucksport Paper Mill in 1972. And I worked there until it closed in 2014. And I was involved pretty much exclusively in the energy part of papermaking. I retired as the corporate energy manager, but have continued in the consulting services for various paper mills. While working at the mill, I participated in NEPOOL on the committees, Markets Committee, Participants Committee, and I'm very familiar with the market rules for capacity and energy. And as Mr. Bushy said, I was a founding member of the Industrial Energy Consumer Group and was either president or vice president for many of the years of its 40 years of existence. I was the project leader in developing the 175 megawatt gas turbine that's still at Bucksport and worked with Hydro-Quebec on that. It was a unique project that significantly reduced emissions at the mill. And then I became involved in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. And my interest there was to help develop a process that was effective yet didn't penalize people who had already done a lot to reduce emissions. I was appointed to and served on the Maine Energy Conservation Board and on the inaugural Efficiency Maine Trust Board, nominated by Governor Baldacci. And then I was nominated again in 2019 and 2022 and have been serving recently as chair. I'm president of the Monson Historical Society, a highly paid volunteer effort, and I'm on the advisory board of the Libra Foundation's Monson project. I think my energy experience is a help to my service on the board, and especially it'll help in the next few months and years as some pretty significant changes are about to happen. There are going to be some significant changes in the capacity market, which will drastically affect how much capacity, gas turbines, demand response, various other types of generation are credited with. And that will result in probably additional capacity having to be installed. We've already seen the installation of some pretty sizable batteries. One in Maine that is 175 megawatts. And we've seen some issues with regard to that, not so much with the battery itself, but in how NEPOOL has treated the battery charging load, and so that when that battery charges up, it's so big and in a CMP territory, it sets peaks on Sunday afternoons. And unlike other storage facilities like pump storage, those loads are not counted towards the peak. And so we're after some changes there to help that situation. So especially as we get more batteries, and you can imagine a 175 megawatt battery in the Versant territory, which that would set a peak anytime it triggered starting. So I'll end it there, and if anybody has any questions.
Thank you very much. Other questions from the committee for Mr. Poole, Representative Sachs?
Thank you, Mr. Poole. What you just said intrigued me. 175 megawatts is peak. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the battery that was recently installed and started up in the Lewiston area, when they charge the battery, they can charge at 175 megawatts. And if you look at the CMP peak, which, many industrials try to predict when the peak's going to occur so that they can reduce their load during that time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have 175 megawatts just come on instantly, that's going to set the peak. And I think one of the recent peaks was Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon even.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the ISO overlooked the fact, NEPA overlooked the fact that load of charging that battery shouldn't be counted as load, similar to what pump storage is, how that's dealt with. And so we're looking to make some changes in the market rules to, not as Efficiency Maine isn't doing it, but for example, the IECG is working with Central Maine Power Company.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Representative Foster?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Poole, for being here all the way down from Monson. To follow up on that question, I've raised my concern here that when we talk about time of use rates for main ratepayers, residential especially, that as we put in more battery storage, as you just, and I brought up that it's 175 megawatt project. From what I understand, they are trying to obviously charge during lower rate hours when peaks are down, and then put the power energy back on the system during the high peaks. My concern is that might be also the same time we're suggesting time of use rate folks should be running their dryers and all of that. And I'm wondering what you think about what that will do to rates when we're trying to balance those two.
Yeah. I think there's a learning curve to be had. Yeah, if you look at the rates, and somebody mentioned now that you can get your phone out and look at the rates instantaneously. And right now they jump around an incredible amount. And part of that is due to the batteries, but there are various other reasons. And for example, 175 megawatts is not a big load compared to New England, but it's very big compared to CMP. And of course, Versant, it's huge compared to Versant's load. So not that they have a battery that big yet, but so I think there's a learning curve to see the results of that. Plus, you've had the 1,000 megawatt line just being energized coming in from Hydro-Quebec.
Any follow-up question, Representative Foster?
Yes, another point, if I may, Mr. Poole. So I certainly value your background, being in a paper mill environment
Like yours.
for much longer than I was. I only had 20 years. So I can appreciate your qualifications for being on this board, and I greatly thank you for your service there. My question is, and I go back probably almost 65 years in Monson watching the Slaters, and you know a lot of those great basketball players that came out of that town, I think you being one of them. My question is, what do you think of the young man that grew up just south of me, Cooper Flagg?
He's a fairly good player, I think. He would have done wonders for Monson.
I guided Kevin Nelson, so
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Other questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against the nomination. First, is there anyone present in the audience who wishes to speak for the nomination? Seeing none, is there anyone present who wishes to speak against the nomination? Seeing none, is there anyone present who wishes to speak on the nomination? Lynn, do we have anyone online? Okay, and the chair will just remind members of the committee that Mr. Burbank previously spoke in favor of this nomination online when he spoke on the first nominee. So come on up, Lynn, and we're ready to start. All public comments having been taken, we'll now proceed to the vote. The hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology for Mr. Glenn Poole of Monson for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board is closed. Chair will ask if there's anybody who objects to not waiting the 15 minutes to vote. You certain? I'm kidding. Seeing none, we'll go straight to the vote. Lynn?
All right. Representative Runte.
Yes.
Representative Runte votes yes. Representative McIntyre is absent. Representative Geiger.
Yes.
Representative Geiger votes yes. Representative Foster.
Yes.
Representative Foster votes yes. Representative Kessler.
Yes.
Representative Kessler votes yes. Representative Sacks.
Yes.
Representative Sacks votes yes. Senator Lawrence.
Yes.
Senator Lawrence votes yes. Senator Grohosky.
Yes.
Senator Grohosky votes yes. Senator Harrington is absent. Representative Warren is absent. Representative Paul. Representative Paul votes yes. Representative Webb.
Yes.
Representative Webb votes yes, and Representative Wadsworth is also absent.
9 members having voted in the affirmative, none in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology that the nomination of Mr. Glenn Poole of Monson for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board is confirmed. Okay, we'll go on to our next nominee, but before I do that, there's 2 members who have come in who haven't been introduced yet. So I'll go to Representative Paul first and then Senator Grohosky.
Good afternoon. My name is Reagan Paul, representing House District 37 in Waldo County.
Nicole Grohowski, I represent Senate District 7, which is 22 communities in Hancock and Knox counties. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now open the public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Ms. Joan Welsh of Rockport for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Representative Sacks for the purposes of making such a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology recommend confirmation of Ms. Joan Welsh of Rockport for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board.
The chair now recognizes the governor's representative for the purposes of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you once again, Senator Lawrence, Representative Sacks, distinguished members of the committee. Again, my name is Joe Bushy, Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Mills, and I'm pleased to be here on behalf of the governor in support of the reappointment of the Honorable Joan Welsh from Rockport for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust. Joan Welsh served in the Maine House for 8 years and was previously the chair of the Joint Standing Committee on Environmental and Natural Resources, which gave her extensive knowledge of Maine's energy and environmental concerns. She also has served as the director of the Natural Resources Council of Maine and had many opportunities to work on energy efficiency matters during that time. Before moving to Maine in the early 90s, she held leadership positions at Outward Bound schools in California and Colorado. She was also the founder and executive director of Boulder County Safe Houses, a shelter program for battered women and their children in Colorado. Her extensive knowledge and diverse career has made her a valuable member of the Efficiency Maine Trust Board of Trustees. And since her initial appointment in 2022, and on behalf of Governor Mills, I would urge you to support her nomination for reappointment. If you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Are there any questions from the committee for the governor's representative? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
The chair now recognizes Ms. Joan Welsh for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you, Senator Lawrence and Representative Sachs and all the good people on the environment or on the, I'm used to saying that, on the energy, technology, and what's the other one? Yeah.
Energy utilities.
Utilities, there
and
you go.
techno-
I come to you very different from the other two board members who've already spoken to you. I come to you as a consumer and as a policymaker that I love, and as a person who, as I will explain later, has always been very interested in reducing our carbon footprint. As mentioned, I was a member of the House of Representatives from 2008 to 2016, and was on the Environment and Natural Resources Committee during that time. As was stated, I was House Chair. Among the many things I worked on, I was a big supporter of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. And I remember urging then DEP Commissioner Patty Aho to continue to renew our state involvement in the RGGI agreement during her tenure with the LePage administration. And as I remember, LePage was not particularly enthusiastic about that, but I really credit Commissioner Aho for really continuing to make that happen and to move forward. Also, I realized that I was privileged to vote for the passage of the bill that created Efficiency Maine Trust during my first term in 2009. Little did I know how impactful that organization would become, and becoming a model for many states around the country. I've been a lifelong advocate for conserving energy and natural resources, having learned from growing up, spending summers in a small cabin in Sequoia National Park in California with no electricity and one cold water spigot, then raising my own family, spending summers at my husband's similar old family cabin in the mountains of Colorado. You can do a lot with a wood stove, ice box. I mean, an ice box. We got ice and stuck it in there. Candles and kerosene lamps. My children, now grown, love that Welsh family cabin and continue to spend time there with their families. They often tease me about conserving energy, like turning off the lights when leaving the room, riding bikes, and to do errands, which happily they do now with themselves and their family. I like to walk the talk of reducing our carbon footprint, so important now in an age of seeing tragic effects from climate change. I've driven a hybrid car since 2004, not the same one. I have heat pumps in my house. I've winterized my home and my apartment that's attached to my home that I rent out, thanks to Richard. And I try to do all I can to reduce the carbon footprint in my life. My work experience in the legislature at the Natural Resources Council of Maine, and certainly my 25 years as an instructor and senior administrator at Outward Bound, where we teach participants to do more with less and take care of the environment, have all been delightful ways to align my work with my values, and I consider myself very lucky. Being on the board of Efficiency Maine Trust has been a great privilege and a wonderful way to contribute to helping our state address the increasing needs to become more energy efficient and to work to invest in more sources of alternative energy and economic opportunity for our state and for all. I want to thank the governor and Mr. Boucher for the nominating me. And I ask respectfully for your approval of my nomination. And I thank you all for all your hard work. And I know this time of year especially is very heavy duty, and I sympathize, but also I know how wonderful it is to do that work. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Honorable Joan Welsh? Representative Geiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Welch, for being here and for serving. It's lovely to see you. I just wondered what your particular interest in Efficiency Maine is, where you sort of bring the incredible experience, life experience that you have toward its work.
Well, I think it is coming from certainly a consumer's perspective, and how can we get consumers to really understand the importance of reducing our carbon footprint, of reducing the amount of energy we use. I talk with a lot of friends about heat pumps, solar energy, because our climate, we can't continue to use fossil fuels. We just can't. But it's very hard to convince the public that that's the case and that they really can switch to other ways of consuming energy than through oil, and especially in Maine, where we're so reliant. I just have to say that I am awed by the competency and the effectiveness of all the staff at Efficiency Maine Trust. They do a very good job of explaining all of the issues to people like me, and there are many here on the board who understand a lot about electricity. I remember taking courses in high school, physics, and I liked all of it. I loved it. But I remember electricity being, I couldn't understand it because it was opposite from what I thought it ought to be. But then I married an electrical engineer, so be it. But no, I think I enjoy understanding more the full array of things that we're doing. It's so much more than heat pumps. And I also appreciate the support that the legislature has continued to give to Efficiency Maine Trust, because that's really important. I think we're on the cutting edge of all of the work that we're doing there, leading the nation. I lived in Colorado for 25 years, and I talk often with friends there, and they're beginning to move in that direction. Of course, they're an oil producing state, which kind of complicates things a bit. But I think more and more they're beginning, especially with the severe heat they're now having. They're beginning to understand. And of course, heat pumps there are used a lot for cooling as well. There's a lot that this organization deals with and thinks about that is fascinating to me. And I do my best to keep up with all the technical items. I'm learning, but I think I bring a more broad perspective. I was an English major. I like the ideas. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I do have one, and just Representative Geiger's question and your testimony reminded me that this is kind of a unique board, in that in the statute, it's required to have people with expertise in various areas. And I was thinking that with Mr. Poole, Mr. Colburn, and the others coming up. I just reviewed it, and it says that must be persons adequately represent the interest of commercial energy consumers, industrial energy consumers, small business energy consumers, residential consumers, low-income energy consumers. Among those members must be persons with knowledge and experience in financial matters, consumer advocacy, and who possess substantial management expertise or knowledge of or experience with conservation fund programs, carbon reduction programs, energy efficiency or climate change policy. So I was just kind of looking at the boxes you ticked there. It seems to me, and I'll see if you agree, you would be certainly representative residential energy consumers, correct?
Correct?
And probably you've represented low-income energy consumers as well?
Yes.
Okay.
For those people.
And then experience in consumer advocacy, I would say you probably do that.
Yes.
And substantial expertise or knowledge in conservation fund programs, carbon reduction programs, energy efficiency, and climate change policy. So probably your time in the legislature gave you quite a bit of familiarity with
Yes,
that.
as well as if it, the Natural Resources Council
Yep.
of Maine.
So I would say you check quite a few boxes, so it's great to have you willing to
Good
serve
to have a
on the board.
generalist on the committee.
Yep, yeah. Any other questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
I will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak for this nomination? Is there anyone who wishes to speak against this nomination? Is there anybody who wishes to speak neither for nor against this nomination, but simply on the nomination? Do we have anybody online, Lynn? And I'll just direct members' attention to the prior comments of the person we had testifying on Zoom. So coming up, Lynn. All public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. We'll review any of the written comments and proceed to a vote on the nomination. So I will declare the hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology for Ms. Joan Welch of Rockport for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board is closed. In accordance with the law, and we are required to take a 15-minute wait unless no one objects. Does anybody object? Seeing no objections, we'll proceed straight to the vote. In accordance with the state statute and the rules of the legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. A vote of yes will be in favor of recommending the nomination. A vote of no will be against the motion to recommend confirmation. Is the committee ready for the question? Clerk will call the roll.
Beginning again with Representative Runte.
Yes.
Representative Runte votes yes. Representative McIntyre is absent. Representative Geiger?
Yes.
Representative Geiger votes yes. Representative Foster?
Yes.
Representative Foster votes yes. Representative Kessler?
Yes.
Representative Kessler votes yes. Representative Sacks?
Yes.
Representative Sacks votes yes. Senator Lawrence?
Yes.
Senator Lawrence votes yes. Senator Grohosky?
Yes.
Senator Grohosky votes yes. And Senator Harrington, Representative Warren, and Representative Paul are absent. Representative Webb?
Yes.
Representative Webb votes yes, and Representative Wadsworth is absent.
8 members having voted in the affirmative and none in the negative. It's the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology that the nomination of Ms. Joan Welch of Rockport for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board be confirmed. Congratulations. Okay, we'll now move on to our fourth of the nominees. This is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology for the purposes of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Mark Isaacson of Cumberland for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board. Pursuant to state law, which requires there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Representative Sacks for such purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology recommend confirmation of Mr. Mark Isaacson of Cumberland for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board.
The chair now recognizes Mr. Bushy, a representative of the governor, for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you once again. We're getting good at this. Senator Lawrence, Representative Sacks, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology. My name is Joe Bushy, and I'm the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Mills. I'm happy to be here on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination of Mark Isaacson of Cumberland as a member of the Efficiency Maine Trust. Mark Isaacson is a graduate of Yale University with a degree in history and earned his MBA in marketing and production from the University of Chicago. Now retired, he has decades of experience working in the energy industry and was a founding partner of Competitive Energy Services, a Portland-based company that offers a broad variety of strategic energy management services, including solar PV, net metering, cogeneration, demand response, fuel arbitrage, multi-fuel strategies, and demand management. I have no idea what any of those are. He has served on the Efficiency Maine Trust Board since 2022. His extensive experience and knowledge have made him a valuable member of the board, and on behalf of Governor Mills, I urge you to support his nomination for reappointment. If you have any questions, I'm happy to attempt to answer them.
Other questions for Mr. Bushy? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
The chair now recognizes Mr. Mark Isaacson for the purposes of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Good afternoon. Senator Lawrence, Representative Sachs, members of the Legislative Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology. My name is Mark Isaacson. I'm here today to provide information regarding my nomination for another term as trustee of the Efficiency Maine Trust. On a September day in 1980, I sat in the lunchroom of the Central Maine Power Company on Edison Drive. The president and all the vice presidents of the company were there to meet the three principals of the Miller Hydro Group. I was the youngest person in the room and the last to be introduced. When it was my turn, my dad's son said, "This is my son, Mark, and he's going to learn the energy business." I'll leave it to others to say if he was right. I've been in the energy business for the ensuing 46 years, first as a hydro developer, then as an energy broker and consultant. And for the last 4 years, my written testimony contains an error. It says 6, it's 4. Although sometimes I must admit it seems like 6. As a member of the Efficiency Maine Trust, I currently serve as vice chair of the Board of Trustees. It is an honor to serve the people of Maine in this capacity. The state of Maine has been good to me and my family for generations. It is both fitting and satisfying to contribute to my state in a field where I claim some expertise. I thank you, and I thank you all for your service as well. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. We will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. First, is there anyone present who wishes to speak in favor of the nomination? Seeing none, is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition to the nomination? Seeing none, is there anybody who wishes to speak neither for nor against, but on the nomination? Seeing none, and we have no one online, all public comments having been taken, the committee will proceed to review written comments and proceed to a vote. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology for Mr. Mark Isaacson to be reappointed to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board is closed. Is there anybody who objects to waiving the requirement of waiting 15 minutes? Okay, we'll proceed directly to the vote. So a vote of yes will be in favor of recommending confirmation. A vote of no will be against recommending confirmation. Is the committee ready for the question? The clerk will call the roll.
And just for something different, we'll begin on the other end of the horseshoe with Representative Webb.
Yes.
Representative Webb votes yes, and Representative Wadsworth was absent. Representative Paul is absent. Representative Warren is absent. Senator Harrington is absent. Senator Grohowski.
Yes.
Senator Grohowski votes yes. Senator Lawrence.
Yes.
Senator Lawrence votes yes. Representative Sachs.
Yes.
Representative Sachs votes yes. Representative Kessler.
Yes.
Representative Kessler votes yes. Representative Foster.
Yes.
Representative Foster votes yes. Representative Geiger.
Yes.
Representative Geiger votes yes. Representative McIntyre is absent, and Representative Runte
Yes.
votes yes.
8 members have been voted in the affirmative, none in the negative. It's the vote of the committee that the renomination of, that the committee recommend the renomination of Mr. Mark Isaacson of Cumberland for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board be confirmed. Congratulations. We'll now open the public hearing on the Joint Standing Committee of Energy, Utilities, and Technology for the purposes of considering the nomination by the governor of Ms. Patricia D. Stanton of Scarborough for appointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board. Pursuant to state statute, the chair will recognize Representative Sachs for the purposes of making an affirmative motion to recommend the confirmation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology recommend confirmation of Ms. Patricia D. Stanton of Scarborough for appointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board.
The chair now recognizes Mr. Bushy as representative of the governor.
Thank you again, Senator Lawrence, Representative Sachs, distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology. Again, my name is Joe Bushy, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Mills. Happy to be here on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination of Patricia D. Stanton of Scarborough as a new member of the Efficiency Maine Trust. Patricia D. Stanton holds a bachelor's degree in engineering from Tufts University, a master's degree from Massachusetts Institute of Technology and Engineering, and the Harvard Kennedy School in Public Administration. Ms. Stanton has over 30 years of experience as an energy and environmental professional and currently serves as the executive director of E for the Future, which promotes clean residential energy and sustainability to advance climate protection and economic fairness. Previously, she served as Senior Vice President of Policy and Advocacy for Conservation Services Group and has worked for the state of Massachusetts as Deputy Commissioner of Energy Resources and Assistant Commissioner for Waste Prevention and Director of Water Supply for the Department of Environmental Protection, also in Massachusetts. Patricia D. Stanton's vast experience will make her a valuable addition to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board of Trustees. On behalf of Governor Mills, I urge you to support her nomination for appointment. Be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions from the committee? Mr. Bushy, do you recall who she is replacing?
She is replacing Suzanne McDonald, who did not want to be reappointed.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Bushy? Seeing none, thank you. The chair now recognizes Ms. Patricia D. Stanton for the purposes of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you so much, Chair Lawrence and Sachs and the distinguished committee. My name is, I go by Pat D. Stanton from Scarborough. And I'm here today to discuss my nomination to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank Governor Mills for nominating me. And I also want to say that I really appreciate your time today. I appreciate the oversight. Having worked in government, I really value the oversight work that these kinds of committees do. And it's important for making sure that institutions like the trust are on the rails, so to speak. I've had the honor to work on the Building Infrastructure Housing Working Group for the Climate Council of the Maine Climate Council on the report that was issued at the end of 2024 and continuing to work on that now. And I've learned a lot. It's been a really great experience, and it certainly has strengthened my conviction that the Efficiency Trust of Maine is a national leader, advancing cost-effective energy efficiency, reducing energy burden for households and businesses in Maine, and strengthening Maine's economy. So in addition to years of professional experience, I will bring a passion for energy efficiency. It's always been at the center of my professional career, starting working on things like Reggie, working on fuel standards and so forth under the AIR program, energy and the interaction with environment is so critically important. As executive director for EVE the Future, I've dedicated to our mission, which is that the sustainable clean energy transition emphasize efficiency. And that I've also built very strong working relationships with the National Association of State Energy Officials, which provides significant support to states as they navigate the labyrinth of federal and funding and also federal requirements. So finally, if confirmed, I will approach this role with a commitment to fiscal responsibility, transparency, and measurable results. I believe in the investment of energy efficiency must be clearly beneficial to ratepayers, while also advancing Maine's broader goals of efficiency, of energy independence, environmental stewardship, and economic growth. I will work collaboratively with the other trustees, stakeholders, and this committee to ensure the programs remain accessible, equitable, and effective across the region and the state. I will work diligently to uphold the mission of Efficiency Maine and serve the people of the state with integrity and care. I thank you for your consideration and I welcome your questions.
Are there questions from the committee? Representative McIntyre, and why don't you introduce yourself as you're asking your question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matthew McIntyre, House District 18. Is this our last time together?
One more. We have one more on Tuesday.
All right, then I'll keep myself in practice. Lowell, Burlington, Greenbush, Pastumkeag, Clifton, Amherst, Aurora, Osborne, Great Pond, Dedham, Eastbrook, Mariaville, Otis, Bennington, Boys, and Cherryfield, and 32 unorganized territories along the way. Thank you for being here today. Congratulations on your nomination. The part that perked my ears was towards the end: energy independence, environmental stewardship, and economic growth. I've introduced a topic to this committee back at the start of the first session, wasn't it? Have you been paying attention at all to advanced geothermal, and what do you know about that topic?
I have, and I think that there are real, it's somewhat an accident of your geography, where you are and your geology, but I think there are real opportunities. I also think there's some real opportunities for just ground source heat exchange for heat pumps and those kinds of things that can make the equipment run much more efficiently, and therefore reduce costs for everyone. But I paid attention to the advanced geothermal, but I have not studied how it would affect Maine. You're welcome.
Other questions from the committee? Pat, I want to thank you for serving or willingness to serve. I reviewed your resume. You check a great number of boxes here in residential energy efficiency and different things. And I'm sure I'm not coming back, so I can say some things, but I'm sure Representative McIntyre will pick your brain on geothermal. And I'm sure you have much more knowledge and expertise given your background on it. Then I understand you're being cautious now to say anything. So we're very lucky to have you. We recently created a Department of Energy in Maine.
I know.
Yep. And that's a new thing for us. And we're trying to figure out, we just transferred from the office, the duties, but I'm sure the people who come back are going to look to refine and define those duties. So I'm going to ask you in front of Mr. Stoddard, if you will be willing to confidentially talk to people on this committee if they call you.
Absolutely.
About ideas on how to structure a Department of Energy, considering the fact that you were for 6 years the deputy commissioner in Massachusetts of
Yes,
DOER.
I was.
Yeah. So that's a fabulous resource for us to have, and we appreciate your willingness to serve on this committee. So they'll ask you confidentially. You don't have to tell Michael what you told us. So, but you're a tremendous source of experience. Other questions? Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. First, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this nomination? Are we certain? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to this nomination? Is there anybody who wishes to speak neither for nor against this nomination, but wishes to simply provide information on the nomination? Seeing none and having no one else online to testify other than the person who previously testified, all public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed to review written comments and proceed to a vote. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology for Ms. Patricia D. Stanton of Scarborough for appointment to the Maine Efficiency Maine Trust Board is closed. In accordance with state law, is there anyone who objects to us moving to a vote immediately? Seeing none, a vote in favor of recommending this confirmation will be yes. A vote of no will be against the motion to recommend confirmation. Is the committee ready for the question? I feel like I should say doorkeepers secure the chamber, but the committee clerk will call the roll.
Okay. Again, starting to our left to even things up, Representative Wadsworth is absent. Representative Webb.
Yes.
Representative Webb votes yes. Representative Paul is absent. Representative Warren is absent. Senator Harrington is absent. Senator Grohowski.
Yes.
Yes. Senator Grohowski votes yes. Senator Lawrence.
Yes.
Senator Lawrence votes yes. Representative Sachs.
Yes.
Representative Sachs votes yes. Representative Kessler.
Yes.
Representative Kessler votes yes. Representative Foster.
Yes.
Representative Foster votes yes. Representative Geiger.
Yes.
Representative Geiger votes yes. Representative McIntyre.
Yes.
Representative McIntyre votes yes, and Representative Runte.
Yes.
Representative Runte votes yes. 9 in favor, 4
8
absent.
members having voted in the affirmative and none in the negative. Did I get that right?
9.
8?
9 in favor.
Oh, yeah, myself. 9. 9 members having voted in the affirmative and none in the negative. It's the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology that the nomination of Ms. Patricia D. Stanton for appointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board be confirmed. Congratulations. Okay, and did you compare me to a prior chair of this committee? We'll now go on to our final confirmation for today. And I will open the public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Christopher Rauscher. Hopefully, Rauscher, thank you, of Cape Elizabeth for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board. Pursuant to state statute, which requires there to be affirmative motion to recommend the confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Representative Sachs for that purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology recommend confirmation of Mr. Christopher Rauscher of Cape Elizabeth for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board and welcome his family to the confirmation hearing as well.
The chair now recognizes the representative of the governor, Mr. Bushy, for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you again for the last time today, but I don't think the last time this year. My name is Joe Bushy, and I'm the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Mills. happy to be here today on behalf of the governor in support of the reappointment of Christopher Rauscher of Cape Elizabeth to the Efficiency Maine Trust. Mr. Rauscher is a graduate of Dalhousie University, which, if I remember correctly, my Canadian universities is in Nova Scotia, and the University of Maine School of Law. He joined Sunrun Incorporated, a leading solar battery and grid services company, in 2015, and currently serves as vice president and head of grid services and electrification. He's also the co-founder and co-owner of Maine Salt Farms, a solar evaporated sea salt brand. Prior to joining Sunrun, Mr. Rauscher was a legislative assistant in the office of Senator Angus King, focused on energy and environmental matters, and a policy advisor to the Senate Energy Committee. Mr. Rauscher's education and expertise in energy-related matters have made him a valuable addition to the Efficiency Maine Trust since his initial appointment in 2022. And on behalf of Governor Mills, I'd urge you to support his nomination for reappointment. Thank you for all of your time here today.
Are there any questions from the committee for Mr. Bushy? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Christopher Rauscher for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you. Senator Lawrence, Representative Sachs, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology. Nice to see many of you again. I'm Chris Rauscher and have been renominated for second term to serve as a trustee on the board of Efficiency Maine Trust. And first, I'd like to thank Governor Mills for renominating me to this position. I actually really enjoyed my first term on the trust and believe I can provide even more value in my second term. My profession is focused on the intersection of energy use and homes and businesses, but my company does not do any business in Maine. My role on EMT enables me to bring my national expertise to bear in this great state, which I love so much. As Mr. Bushy said, for the last 11 years, I've worked at Sunrun, which is the nation's largest residential solar battery and home energy management company. And I've been in various roles, policy and regulatory roles, and now I'm on the revenue side. I moved from the cost side over to the revenue side. And for the last 3 years, I've been vice president and head of grid services. And in this role, I oversee the business unit that networks hundreds of thousands of home batteries together with software to push power to the grid or sign capacity contracts as though they were a single power plant. And we manage about a gigawatt, almost a nuclear power plant's worth of power capacity from home batteries across the country. This experience is directly relevant to the work of EMT. I understand what matters to the average residential customer. In my business unit, we manage hundreds of thousands of customers across the country, from Hawaii to Texas, California to Puerto Rico. And I also understand the needs of for-profit businesses. By bringing this expertise to bear at EMT, I hope I have been and will continue to be helpful in improving EMT's programmatic offerings for customers, as well as improving them for the businesses, the service providers that use these programs. My resume covers much of my work history, and Mr. Bushy did a great job of covering it as well. And I won't reiterate that here, but I would like to note that I grew up in Bristol, Maine, in a leaky old early 1800s farmhouse where buying another tank of oil presented a serious problem. And so I can appreciate the need that many Mainers have for greater energy security in their homes. After high school in Newcastle, Maine, I then completed my undergraduate degree in classics in Nova Scotia, Canada, Dalhousie. I tried on many different careers before I eventually found my way to Maine law. And then after that, working with Senator King down in DC on energy policy. Today is a half day at our school in Cape Elizabeth, at our kids' school. And so my kids, Penelope, Julian, and Charles, and my lovely wife, Eliza, are here. And our kids are unfortunately getting a Civics 101 class for the rest of the afternoon. In closing, because I work nationally, I can unequivocally say that EMT runs perhaps the very best energy programs in the entire country. And I really mean that. EMT should be a source of pride for the state of Maine. Thank you for considering my renomination. I'd be happy to take any questions.
They ask if any member of the committee has a question for the nominee, Representative Geiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just idle curiosity. I noticed that you graduated in classics from Dalhousie. I'm wondering if you got accepted actually into King's College's program in classics.
I didn't do the foundation year program there, but I took a bunch of courses at King's, and that was my really my home when I was in college. Yeah.
Great, thanks. My son got accepted there, and we were all ready to go, and then Portland had an $80 flight from Portland to Halifax that got
Right.
canceled. So it's like,
It's a long
can't do
drive.
it.
Any other questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you. We'll now take comments from persons attending the hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. First, I'll ask if there's anyone present who wishes to speak in favor of the nomination. Any of you three wish to speak? Big chance. Then I'm gonna go to opposition, so if you ever wanted to get your father back. Yeah, yeah. So seeing no one who wishes to testify in favor, is there anyone who wishes to testify against, really? You guys, if you want to say anything, he's away from home a lot, things like that, misses our games, you can say whatever. Okay, if there's no one who wishes to testify in opposition, the chair will ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak on the nomination. Seeing none. All public comments having been taken, the committee will proceed as follows. We will review written comments and we will proceed to a vote. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities and Technology for Mr. Christopher Rauscher of Cape Elizabeth for a reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board is closed. Is there anyone on the committee who wants to wait 15 minutes before we do this? Seeing none, we'll proceed directly to the vote. In accordance with state statute, a vote of yes is in favor recommending confirmation. A vote of no is in opposition to recommending confirmation. Is the committee ready for the question? The committee clerk will call the roll.
Starting again with Representative Runte.
Yes.
Representative Runte votes yes. Representative McIntyre.
Yes.
Representative McIntyre votes yes. Representative Geiger.
Yes.
Representative Geiger votes yes. Representative Foster.
Yes.
Representative Foster votes yes. Representative Kessler.
Yes.
Representative Kessler votes yes. Representative Sachs.
Yes.
Representative Sachs votes yes. Senator Lawrence.
Yes.
Senator Lawrence votes yes. Senator Grohosky.
Yes.
Senator Grohosky votes yes. Senator Harrington is absent. Representative Warren is absent. Representative Paul is absent. Representative Webb.
Yes.
Representative Webb votes yes, and Representative Wadsworth is absent.
9 members having voted in the affirmative and none in the negative. Excuse me, it is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities and Technology that the nomination of Mr. Christopher Rauscher of Cape Elizabeth for reappointment to the Efficiency Maine Trust Board be confirmed. Congratulations. This being, I believe, the only business we have today. Oh, Lindsay's coming on her way for one more language review. So you can come on in, Lindsay. So we're going to spend about 5 minutes just changing over the audience. So I'm sure there's some people on the committee who want to congratulate you in person. So can hang around a couple of minutes and then we'll go to our language review.
Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, we need to come back together for, I believe this is going to be the last language review of my life. Unless you tell me we've got another one. So you better make it good, Lindsay.
Oh,
I
dear.
mean-
So much pressure. Well, this will be the last, I think, the last in-person language review for the committee. What is being passed out, so this is continuing our conversation yesterday on the minority report for LD 32. As I mentioned yesterday, revisor's office caught that there was additional section of law, and the question was whether to repeal it or amend it. What is being distributed is for your consideration for those in the minority report. If you were to want to retain 3209F, this is what it would look like. So essentially 3209F would remain in statute, but we would just add former with respect to section 3209B because that's being repealed.
Are you comfortable with that, Representative Foster?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One question. So during my long, lonely ride home last night, I got thinking about this. Because of our minority report, if that were to somehow get passed, then this section would have been unnecessary anyway, correct?
So this section 3209F, which you have in front of you, the minority report that you saw did not address this. But to your point, if net energy billing, if we bring it back to the sort of 2017 levels where it's smaller, I think it's possible there could be some residual costs for about maybe a year or so. I mean, there is a short period of time, and that's why we would say former 3209B, even though it's being repealed, it is possible there could still be some usefulness for the 3209B, the tariff rate program costs for maybe a year, depending on sort of how the reconciliation plays out. And then to the extent that there are net energy billing costs under the kilowatt hour credit program, which under the minority report would be established by PUC rule, this could operate to address those.
So the comment yesterday was to go with the repeal. But this doesn't do that. This is the work that we were trying to avoid.
This would, if you wanted to retain 3209F, and I think it's sort of, you know, again, it's up to those on the report, as this wasn't something that was on the sort of radar at the time. I will note that this was a result of LD 839. And you know, several of the members of the minority report were on the ought to pass this amended report to enact this law. So, you know, if you repeal it, it's entirely up to you. If you repeal it, we basically just include it in the minority report as a repeal. However, if we want to retain this section of law, we would amend it to just say former, and it would take a little longer in processing, but that's whatever is the intent of the minority report.
Is this the work that would be required already done?
It is not already done. This is a mock-up of what it would look like.
So let's simply repeal it.
Okay, is that the preference of those on the minority report?
I met with those who are not here and I explained my thoughts on the fact that it wouldn't matter as much, and they seem to be in agreement.
Okay.
So you were overruled is what you're saying. I'm just kidding.
No, I ruled.
Is that true, Representative McIntyre? So you guys are comfortable with what Representative Foster suggested? You're comfortable, Matthew?
Yes.
Good. Okay. That's all you need, Lindsay?
That's it. So this 3209F, as enacted by public law 2025, chapter 532, will be, minority report will repeal that. Just so you know, this point, actually, you've already seen final language. So I guess, would you like this to be sent around again, incorporating this repeal, or is everyone comfortable with it being reported out of committee, knowing that it will include that repeal? Okay.
Fine with that. Thank you.
All right, this will be reported out.
So this is definitely my last language review. And I didn't even get even get to participate.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Save the
Thank
best
you.
for last.
Thank you. So, Senator Grohowski wanted to update anybody on a potential floor amendment on plug-in solar.
Thank
So
you.
we thought it would be easiest to do, not in an email, but when we're
I may
here,
follow
just
up with an email
talking.
just because of missing members, but while we're all here together, so yesterday I heard from a person who works in the main office of community affairs in their building, whatever you want to call. I think he said he was the building person. Forget his title. My apologies on that. He flagged that in 2 cases of 3 cases, the bill language was citing the wrong National Electrical Code. So it said the National Electrical Safety Code. The safety code is for utilities. The NEC National Electrical Code is for buildings. So the floor amendment is addressing that incorrect usage of the phrase. And then furthermore, the NEC is adopted by the Electricians Examining Board, and the language had said the Technical Building Codes and Standards Board. So it's changing the reference to the board to be correct with what actually happened. So nothing is changing about the intent of the bill, but I wanted to just let everyone know that we're going to try to move these technical changes forward in the Senate tomorrow. So then it will come back to the House in non-concurrence. But if you liked the bill before, hopefully you feel the same way. And if you didn't like the bill before, then
You'll like it even less.
nothing's changed. So yeah, that's all.
I didn't like the bill before I liked the bill, and then I didn't like it again.
Oh, dear.
Representative
geez.
McIntyre.
Does that mean if you're doing a floor amendment that you might be open to adding additional language?
I really think that the committee discussed their intent on the bill, and my opinion was not to change the intent of the bill with this floor amendment, but rather make sure it
Oh,
is
not
consistent with
not
the
to change the
state.
intent, but just to narrow the scope.
I would feel uncomfortable.
That's okay.
Doing that.
I've recently been directed to work on my sense of humor.
I mean, anyone can put their own floor amendment in and we can all debate it, but this floor amendment is purely to be technical in nature, to not reopen the debate on the actual underlying policy. But thank you for your,
So I just
Humor
warn
that
you,
went right over my
Representative McIntyre, if you work on it too much, you're gonna end up like me. So. Anything else for the committee? Adjournment? We're adjourned. Oh, sorry, Lindsay?
Nope, you're fine. I just want to give you a heads up. So the only bill that is still remaining for final language review is 1966. So that will be coming through by email. So just keep an eye out for that. Depending on when it becomes available, your window of time will likely be about 24 hours. But I will obviously flag that in the email.
Is there a possibility we could see it next Tuesday since we have one more?
We would need permission to conduct, the committee has permission to meet to do the confirmation hearing. We would have to get specific permission to meet, yeah. So email may be easier, but certainly if.
You sure you don't want to do that for me?
Okay, I mean,
I'm
it's
kidding.
a little tempting, but if there are any concerns about the final language, what I'd love to do is be able to get this out to the committee. If there are any concerns, then we could request permission to talk about it publicly. But if everything looks good, we'll see.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And no one forget about lunch on Tuesday. It is at the quarry in Hollowell. 12 o'clock, I think that's when they're letting us out. And we need to be back here by shortly after 2 for the confirmation hearing. Great. Safe drive home, everyone.